The NFL is sleeping on the Texans, and I have no idea why. All of a sudden, the expectation for the Texans has gone down because they lost offensive linemen, they lost Stephon Diggs. But honestly, those were good players to get rid of. And this is just such a stepping stone for the Texans because it's a huge transition from what the disaster was last year in the second year with CJ Stroud. The offensive line played very badly. The wide receiving core was injured. The offensive play calling was bad. It has all changed for 2025. Now, if you're new to the channel, 75% of you are not subscribed. If you want to stay up to date to all Texans news, hit that sub button. But first thing, let me know your thoughts on the Texans in the comments because there's some people that think this team, we don't know what's going to expect. But then there's other people that believe, hey, this is a team that can make a deep playoff run. And this video is basically about how we don't think the Texans are in a good position to be productive this season. And Ben Arthur of Fox Sports described Houston's roster moves this past offseason as underwhelming. I don't know what's so underwhelming about this roster just because you got rid of an all-pro left tackle in Laramie Tunsil, who was very bad for the offensive line with the 19 penalties he had this past season. No offense, but I think it was very overdue that Tunsil was shipped off, not to mention his contract was through the roof, plus he's 31 years old. It was a good move to get rid of Tunsil, and hopefully Ariante Ursary can step up and be the main blindside left tackle for years to come. As far as the offense and the roster in general, you're going to look at this team and tell me, yeah, we just don't trust the Texans, which I understand why there are some doubters. You look at last season, it was very bad. CJ Stroud, the second most sacked quarterback in the league, and then you trade away your offensive lineman and Kenyon Green, Laramie Tunsil, you cut Shaq Mason, but that was honestly very overdue. Shaq Mason got injured. Giving up double-digit sacks. You cannot be on the team after that year. You go out, get Laken Tomlinson, Cam Robinson. You do what you can to replace the guys that you got rid of. Fair enough. You go out and draft a left tackle. You go out and draft Jaden Higgins. I mean, this is what you look forward to. But it was all bad. Well, it wasn't all bad last year. You still went to the wild card round. You won the division. You won the wild card. You went to the division round. So it really wasn't a wasted season. It was just the fact that this is the prime years for the Texans to go out and try and win a championship with their young rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud, who arguably, I don't want to say already, but he's looking like he might be the best quarterback in Texans history, considering, honestly, the best quarterback is probably Matt Schaub, and he had a little bit of a run there with the Texans until he kind of couldn't do it, and then he became a backup. But the point is, this is the time to utilize your quarterback in CJ Stroud. Do not let his talent go to waste. And here's the thing. In the article, everyone is saying they're so nervous about CJ Stroud and he's not going to do anything. He's on a regression. This is where the Texans are going to start trading players midseason because it's going to go wrong. If you look at last year, it cannot go any more wrong this year. Let's be completely honest. This was a team that was in complete just chaos by middle of the season. This was an offense that wasn't scoring in the second half and getting away with winning games. Seriously, think about that. When you don't score in the second half consistently, the Texans have not scored a touchdown in the second half since week 6. That is in November. That was a good 4-week spread where they did not score in the second half. And then you have Bobby Slowick post-game. After you've given up 8 sacks, you cannot have that. 54 sacks. The second most sacked team in all of football last year. And people saying somehow the offensive line is going to be worse than 54 sacks. They don't have much to live up to. And I'm not saying it's going to be great, but it's not going to be 54 sacks. Especially when all the guys are on the same page. Yes, it's a new group. You have a new left tackle and a rookie. Cam Robinson is not the rookie, but Ursary's the rookie. Robinson's the veteran. Laken Tomlinson, another veteran. The only two guys you really kept were Blake Fisher, Juice Scruggs, and then obviously Titus Howard. Got rid of everyone else. Kenyon Green had to go. But looking at the team last year, the biggest problem outside of the offensive line was the play calling. Bobby Slowick refused to make a change. It was the same offense week in and week out. This is the graphic I wanted to show, but I mean, ridiculous. 0 points in the second half again, and Slowick thinks, yeah, we could just run it, and go 30 times into the ground for 39 yards. What are we doing? I was losing it last year because it really didn't make any sense. And now I was a little bit caught off guard by the Slowick firing because he did have a good first year. There was an argument they might give him another year, but the last thing the Texans want to do is take a risk with a guy who clearly did not look good last season and just refused to make second half adjustments, refused to make mainly any adjustments for that matter. And when you look at the team this year with Nick Caley, not only does he have a personal relationship with the quarterback in CJ Stroud, not to say that Slowick didn't, but this just feels different, especially when your offensive coordinator is basically giving your reins to the quarterback and saying, hey, I trust you. You're a good quarterback. You have great accuracy. We're going to allow you to audible at the line of scrimmage like you're an all-pro quarterback because CJ Stroud deserves that. He knows how to read a defense. He knows how to see a field. And last year, another of the reasons that there was about 8 reasons why the Texans could not go on a run. And one of them was they're inconsistent to put up points. If the defense played like it did last year, there's no debate that if the rookie Stroud and that Texans offense played like that, I don't know if that Chiefs game goes that way. Just saying. Not only that, Fairbairn missed 2 field goals. He missed an extra point. The one at the end of the game but got blocked, so that doesn't technically count. But that was, 4 points that could have put them in the game. So, besides the point, if the offense can be consistent this year, and not to mention Tank Dell went down, Stephon Diggs went down, you had players hurt. And now with an improved offensive line compared to last season. It is improved because you look at the guys on the team, and honestly, they can mesh. The only question mark I have is how long until Ariante Ursary takes over for Cam Robinson. Robinson's not bad, but he will give up a couple guys just to walk around him, like Myles Garrett, like TJ Watt, like those kinds of players. And then the right tackle spot. I do not know if Blake Fisher is ready to start as a second-year player. He played a little bit last year, but can he develop? Can he take that next step after, okay, I've been in the NFL one season? Because we saw the same thing with Titus Howard. And again, we did another video where there were concerns about Titus Howard and his ability to play guard because he's played better tackle. But honestly, I would argue the opposite. Besides the point, back to why are we discounting, why are we discrediting this Houston Texans team? 2 years in a row, DeMeco Ryans, a coach who is now a second-year head coach, won his division and won a playoff game. And now we're saying, yeah, let's just blow it all up. Are we for real right now? With inevitable extensions for Stroud blossoming and defensive star Will Anderson soon to clog up the team's books, the Texans would benefit from significantly exchanging veterans for picks that can soon be converted into cost-effective replacements. That might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Yes, you want to be able to pay Stroud and Will Anderson. But to be fair, there's not many players on the long-term contract for this team. You may have 2 players, Titus Howard and Derek Stingley. Maybe Nico Collins. But again, for long-term, Stingley is the only one under contract until 2028 or 2027, whatever the year is. But the Texans do not have their future laid out. It is win now mode in Houston. And this year, do not think that the offensive line is going to hold this team back. Because I'm sick and tired of the narrative saying, this might be a little bit much, me going over the top on here to kind of just hammer it home that the Texans are going to be a good team this year. Texans fans, you guys know this. I'm trying to say it to the world here that the Texans will, for my understanding, I believe they will 100% be playing in the AFC Championship game. And that is to the expectation, can't speak today. That is the expectation that this defense played like it did last year, and then the offense can step up and be even better. I say be even better because the injury-prone things that happened last year where John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, guys who were supposed to step up but could not because of the lack of players in the depth for the Texans. And just, again, they didn't prove themselves. So Nick Caserio goes out and gets the veteran Christian Kirk, goes out and get 2 more veterans in Justin Watson and Braxton Berrios just in case they can't draft the guy that they want. And then on top of that, drafts Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. So a lot to look forward to for the Texans. I have seen this article now, and I'm just, how are you expecting the season to be underwhelming? Yeah, okay, roster movement might have been a little underwhelming. But honestly, if you're looking at the Texans and you watched any of their games last season, those were the problems on the team that had to go. The only one you can argue is Tunsil, because he was a cornerstone left tackle. However, I thought it was time. He was only creating problems, not only on the offensive line, but in the penalty market, as well as he's 31. His contract, he's going to ask for the most money ever by any left tackle, because that's what he does. But he deserves it. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay it to him? So the Texans are now strategizing for the future in terms of their future left tackle, and they got rid of some money, so that's a good thing. As far as this team, anybody who's a non-Texans fan, what is going wrong with this team? What are the problems that you saw last season that's going to happen again? How can it be worse than last year? That's what I want to know, because it can't. It cannot be any worse than the offense was last year. And I'm not even saying the offense was that bad. It was just the problem of why the Texans lost games and why they couldn't execute in the playoffs. That was really it. The wild card game mainly got lucky because of their defense. Herbert threw 4 interceptions that game? Stroud didn't do much on offense. He threw a pick in the end zone that got called back. He threw a pick out of bounds. Luckily, it was out of bounds. But again, I don't blame that on Stroud. I blame that on the play calling and the offensive line of him having to get rid of the ball. So if he can see, hey, we got a blitz coming at 52. All right, let's bring protection. Let's check here. Like, Stroud can do that. So I've gone on a little bit of a rampage, but looking at the future, there's no way they're going to get rid of people. This is the biggest problem. Score consistent points. I'm not looking for you to score on every drive, but if you can score 24 consistent points week in and week out of the 12, 15 drives that you get on offense, maybe that's a little much, but out of the 8 drives on offense, at least score 2 to 3 times, and your defense can maybe come up clutch. But even that is not even that much to ask for. If you can score on 50% of your drives, you could be a top 10 offense in the league. And that's all you have to do. And I know it's a lot to ask for, but with the run game that the Texans are expected to have with CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and then the receiving game on top of it, this is going to be a team that is dangerous, not underwhelming. So that's all for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd be really interested to see what Texans fans and non-Texans fans and everyone has to think about this team just from watching it last year and now looking forward to this season. So let me know your thoughts. I think the Texans Super Bowl could be on the way. Maybe not this year, but very soon. Could be this year. So we'll see what happens. But thank you everyone so much for watching. Hit that sub button if you're new. It's been Mike Zanetti, Texans Digest. We'll see you in the next video.